Hello, welcome to God Talk. This video might conclude the historical aspect of Christianity. It's going to be a look between 100 AD-ish and then 1600-ish. Luminaries and events between 100 AD to 1600 AD. There are so many, too many to choose, but I had to choose some of them, and I chose the ones that I thought were fairly much the most influential. I'm sure I left some out. Sometimes the councils and events were responses to heresies. So the idea of a hermit, St. Anthony on 251-356 AD was one of the first hermits. There were others. St. Mary Magdalene, I believe, was a hermit. And there are others hermits. But the idea of hermit, leaving society and communing with God in nature, basically, is what hermits do. How do they live? How do they eat? Some things are miraculous, some things are practical. So St. Anthony of Egypt was one of the first. Then, of course, you had the Emperor Constantine. Let the Christians, they would stop persecuting Christians. So he called the Council of Nicaea, where 1,800 bishops from the east and west were convened. So people who think, and again, we talked about some of the bishops, but here's this 1,800 of them. All right, that includes both east and west. They convened and they did this profession of faith. We believe in one God, Father Almighty, etc. So it's called the Nicene Creed. Anyway, and in 381, the Council of Constantinople amended the Nicene Creed a little bit. It's 80% of it roughly was about the same, but then it added, we believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, and they talked about baptism. So again, one holy Catholic Apostolic Church. To understand what that means is, Christ never wanted separate churches. He wanted one church. Holy referring to his divinity. Catholic means universal. Apostolic is a section. And then baptism, of course. So there you have, that's 381. Then you have St. Jerome in 384. He completes the translation from Greek to Latin of the New Testament. And in 405, he completes this translation of Old Testament from Hebrew. Next, you got St. Augustine of Hippo, North Africa. He became a doctor of the church. He's known for his committing pretty much every sin and then converting, and he was a philosopher. He's a doctor of church. And then St. Patrick of Ireland was 461 roughly when he died. So again, we have St. Patrick's Day. So St. Benedict died 547. He was considered the founder of monasticism. So monasticism is a little different than hermits. Hermits live by themselves or in a hermit community, a small one usually. But monasticism was to have people living communion with each other, and they have, and they live in a cloister, and they sing and pray, and then those there they would read the Bible, read scriptures, have the Holy Mass, and they would so that's how they lived. Now it's important to understand, this was in Europe. In monasticism, there was a time in Europe where there was thousands and thousands of people in the monasteries. They were filled. Monasticism still exists. St. Benedict's order still exists. The Benedictines and the Cistercians still exist. So 590, St. Pope Gregory the Great establishes Gregorian chant. So a lot of your Gregorian chant was part of the monastic life. Now this is not Christian, but it's important to understand. 632 Islam, Muhammad dies, the founder of Islam, and then you start to have this, because of this new religion, if you will, you have people who are going to spread their faith. And so in 1099, you got the, not just then, but that was basically the beginning of the Muslim conquest. They try to take over the Holy Land. They try to take over Spain. And then the result of the church was to have crusades. And so you get this maybe Muslim versus Christianity going on. And that was, yeah. And it still exists today. So 1226, St. Francis of Assisi. So he was probably the most famous monk. He founded the Franciscans. And he did many things. One of the things he did was make Christmas important. If you don't know Christmas, it's Christ's Mass. That's and then you have the Nativity. So basically, St. Francis kind of honored and gave importance to the Nativity, which then spread throughout Christendom, and we end up having Christmas. Obviously, Christmas came from Europe and spread over to the United States. So, and everywhere. 1221, St. Dominic. He was known for his preaching. So, matter of fact, the order is called the Order of Preachers, OP. And then the Dominicans is what he founded. And he was really big with the rosary and Marian kind of stuff. So, it's 1274, St. Thomas Aquinas was a Dominican. He's from Aquino, Italy, basically. That's where he was a bishop or something there. He's known as the Angelic Doctor. There was some special qualities about him that were very unique and very holy. And he was the one involved. He had other books, but Summa Theologica was his masterpiece. Well, some would say. And it's extraordinary how he came up with this. Anyway, moving on, St. Bridget of Sweden, 1373. St. Catherine of Siena, 1380. A doctor of the church. Most people know St. Joan of Arc in France. She led the French troops to unify France. And I'll leave it at that. Most people know the story. And for context, 1492, Columbus reaches America. Natives were already here. So, 1508, Michelangelo paints the Sistine Chapel. And he started to paint it. I don't know when he finishes it, but that's close enough. 1521, you're beginning to see here the 1521 to 38, the Protestant Reformation starting to happen. Luther was excommunicated from the Catholic Church. Again, back then there was two churches, basically the Orthodox and the Catholic. And so he formed his own church eventually. 1531, a very important event happened in Mexico, of all places. It was Our Lady of Guadalupe. So Juan Diego, I'm not going to get into it too much, but basically had a tilma, which was like this little cloth thing, and he saw the Blessed Lady of Mary, Jesus' mother, appeared to him, and she made an imprint on the cloth, and it's still there in Mexico. It's quite remarkable. I think it's one of the most visited holy sites in the world. And there's a lot to the story, but that's, for our purposes, that's it. So it's quite a thing. There's a lot of miraculous things that happened, including that the tilma doesn't decay and all this other stuff. So anyway, in 1538, King Henry VIII was excommunicated in England. So he forms his own church. So that seems to be a theme. So everybody wants to form their own churches if they don't like what the main church is doing. 1540, at the birth of the Jesuits. The Jesuits were missionaries. They went all over the place, and basically a lot of them were martyred. And they were also developing schools, etc. So anyway, Saint Cecilia. We're going to end on Saint Cecilia because it's quite remarkable. In 1599, they exhumed her body, and she died in around 235 AD, and was preserved. And she's 1,300 plus years old, and she's still not decayed. And she's the first one they discovered that incorruptible. I hope you enjoyed the video.